edition on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Saturday morning, about 37 minutes past the hour of 10 a.m., for which we are coming to you live from the streets of Kampala, Uganda. I hope you've had a wonderful week. Welcome back from that beautiful week of UEFA Champions League football. We did have the UEFA Champions League new season kickoff and things like that. So I'm sure you must have enjoyed plenty of that action that did come your way throughout the course of the week. So anyways, you'll allow me to have audios tested. Make sure everything does check out before we proceed any further in today's broadcast, in which we will be previewing all the action that will be coming your way this beautiful weekend. There's plenty of action to come. Yes, LFC, how are you doing? Because the weekend does kick off with Liverpool in action against Everton in that Merseyside derby. So there's a lot for us to look forward to in as far as the weekend is concerned. And I hope you do join me on this journey as we will preview the fixtures that will be coming. We'll have two big games also. The three massive games over the course of this weekend, and as far as the Premier League is concerned, because it doesn't get any bigger than a Merseyside derby on a Saturday early kickoff, and then more importantly, later on there is a game between Manchester United and Chelsea. Not to mention that Super Sunday comes with its own gift of blessings in terms of a huge gargantuan fixture when Arsenal entertain Manchester City at the Emirates Stadium in what I believe is a must-win for the Gunners. And I'll be giving you my reasons why I think it is a must-win for the Gunners. But we will look at that in a bit. Allow me to have audios tested and make sure everything checks out. I think we're good to go on that front in as far as the audio is concerned. If there's anything that needs to be rectified, do not hesitate to let me know. And we'll get to correct it during the course of this broadcast. Okay. Something I needed to look at. So do join me. Waiting for you guys to join the broadcast, and yeah, we will get the conversation going. We will get the conversation going for today's broadcast. A lot has been said between managers of managers, depending on what side of the aisle you look at it. Pep Guardiola made some comments, and then those comments were taken out of context. I'd want to believe in some sense, and perhaps we'll get to look at those and review them. Last night we did look at some of them, but I know majority of you were not part of that broadcast last night, in which we discussed some of those comments from last night when Pep Guardiola made comments in regards to Arsenal buying players and Liverpool spending and things like that. So yeah, we'll be looking at that as well in as far as this broadcast is concerned. Where do we kickstart things all from? Then comments have been made in the realm of Ruben Amorim. Excuse me. There's a bug flying around, sort of trying to disrupt this broadcast. Anyways, so I was saying some comments were made by Ruben Amorim in regards to his meeting with Sir Jim Ratcliffe ahead of this weekend. Again, I think a must-win fixture for Manchester United, given the context in which they've started the season with. But here is a run of fixtures that will be coming our way this weekend in as far as the Premier League is concerned. Like I said, Liverpool come in the early kickoff at 2:30 p.m. against Everton in the Merseyside derby, while Brighton and Hove Albion will take on Tottenham Hotspur, and that's at 5 p.m., while Burnley will entertain Nottingham Forest at the same kickoff time. West Ham United will be up against Crystal Palace, while Wolverhampton Wanderers will welcome Leeds United. That's for all the 5 p.m. East African time kickoff. Then later at 7:30 p.m., Manchester United will entertain Chelsea at Old Trafford. And then in the late kickoff of Saturday, Fulham will be up against Brentford. That's at Craven Cottage at 10 p.m. And on Super Sunday, two games kick off at 4 p.m. when Bournemouth host Newcastle at the Vitality Stadium, while Sunderland will be at home against and off form Aston Villa. And then to wrap it all up, for match day 5, Arsenal will be taking on Manchester City. The reason as to why I suspect there is no Monday night football is possibly because of the EFL Cup that will be ongoing in the midweek for the third round. Some games were played, I think about 3 games, actually 4 games, in which teams like Grimsby knocked out Sheffield Wednesday. Crystal Palace were in action against Millwall, and they managed to advance on penalties, winning that fixture 4-2 on penalties. I think that proceeded a 1-1 draw. Then we know for a fact that Nottingham Forest were knocked out by Swansea 3-2. In that 3-2 victory, with Swansea coming from 2 goals down to beat up against Ange Postecoglou's side. And then I think Aston Villa were in action against Brentford, and Aston Villa were equally knocked out of the competition at the hands of Brentford, who won the tie 4-2 on penalties. So in anticipation of some of the fixtures that will be coming your way in midweek, I think that's why we do not have a Monday night football game. Also bearing in mind that this week, like I said, it has been a UEFA Champions League week, and we'll come back from all that. Some lost, some won. Manchester City beating up against Napoli. Arsenal won against Athletic Bilbao. Then Tottenham won. Was it against? I'm forgetting. But they did win their game by 1-0 against Villarreal. Newcastle were beaten by Barcelona, and then Chelsea were beaten by Bayern Munich. So yeah. Anyways, we will kick things off in the context of the Merseyside derby, even though because it's the early kickoff, and it's one of those games that we often look at to in every season. I'm sure people that support Liverpool, I'm sure LFC and all the minders from the Merseyside region, it's a game that they love to watch. One they hope does not come soon enough, but one they hope that does not end quick enough. Because of the entertainment it brings, the feistiness of a derby, all the verbal exchanges. These days, social media has amplified a football rivalry away from just what happens on the turf into a war of words that goes on online. All the banter, all the sort of mockery and jokery that goes on. Of course, it does come with its shenanigans. Some people take it too far and they get abusive. They get derogatory in their own statements, but all that notwithstanding, I think we always love a derby, and the Merseyside derby does not get any better. Last season, it was a bit of a feist one. We know for a fact that Liverpool managed to beat up against Everton by 1-0. That was around 2nd April, but the earlier fixture had finished in a 2-2 draw, and that was around 12th February. James Tarkowski scoring the final goal of the Merseyside derby at Goodison Park in a late equalizer as Everton forced Liverpool into a 2-2 draw. So we all remember that. Bit of chaotic scenes that led, was it Harvey Elliott? A couple of people were given red cards at the end of that fixture. So because of how hot and heated it became in the aftermath of that. So, but in terms of, Liverpool entertaining Everton at Anfield, they've won this game more times than not, because when you look at the last 5 meetings, in as far as the two sides are concerned, Liverpool have won the last 3 fixtures at Anfield by at least 1-0 or 2-0 without conceding. In fact, they've not conceded in those 3 games. So, like I said, last season they beat up against Everton by 2-1, and then you'll have to go back to the other previous 2 meetings at Anfield, and Liverpool won those by 2-0. Then while Everton forced them into a 2-2 draw, they managed also to beat them the previous last season but one by 2-0 at Goodison Park. Now we know they've since moved to the Hill Dixon Stadium. That's where they are playing their games. One would think that given the way Liverpool have sort of scrapped away victories in the opening 5 games of the season, the UEFA Champions League inclusive, it's hard to argue that they've been winning comfortably. It's hard to argue that they've been winning comfortably. They've had to scrap away wins, and they've shown us that consistently they are capable of scoring those late goals that give them victories. They play with that attitude of they never give up kind of attitude, and I believe it's one that is paid off in the last couple of games. For example, when you go back to the opening game of the season against Bournemouth, which they led by 2 goals to nil, and then Anthony Semenyo scored a burst to restore parity. They needed a second half substitute in Federico Chiesa to score, I think, in the 88th minute to to sort of break the tie. And then, of course, Mo Salah scored to put the icing on the cake. When you go back to the game against Newcastle, you needed a stoppage time goal from Riongo Moha coming off the bench to win it for Liverpool 3-2 against Arsenal. They had to score a free kick, I think, in the 83rd minute. When you go to Burnley, stoppage time, a penalty by Mo Salah. That's how they won games. When you go to the game against Napoli, I think the game against Atletico de Madrid in the UEFA Champions League, which they were almost drawing by 2-2. They needed a late winner from Virgil van Dijk's header, I think, in stoppage time. So clearly, that tells you of how Liverpool have gone about their business so far this season. It tells you that a team that plays with that attitude of never give up is not over until it is over, which is a very, very good thing. It's a good mentality to have in a team, especially its title winning mentality, its champions mentality, that you, just because you've conceded or just because you've squandered leads, does not mean that you give up along the way. So they've shown us that. The question is it sustainable? Is it can they carry it all throughout the season? There's no evidence to suggest that they cannot, but also it's a bit of a risk one. You cannot bank on the fact that you're always going to grind it out that way, because on another day you may face a more difficult opponent, a more defensively solid opponent, or who denies you those chances, or the luck may not fall on your side, because football is as much as hard work as it is luck, in my opinion, because hard work is not just enough. It has to come with luck on its end, because on any given day, what you think is a corner, the referee could decide it's a goal kick, and there's nothing you're going to do about it, because it's not a clear and obvious error. Or the referee is not going to be called to the VAR monitor to say no, go and give them their corner kick. So there's sort of that bit to think about. Anyways, going through yesterday some of these fixtures, my gut feeling was telling me it's going to end in a 1-1 draw. But however, Everton have struggled to score at Anfield. Now, are we talking about an improved Everton side? So far this season, there's suggestions that they are an improved version of themselves than they were last season. Remember, last season they kicked off with Sean Dyche in charge. In fact, we're talking about a side that has only lost one game so far this season. I think losing 3-2 against Wolverhampton Wanderers was that the fixture in which they lost. So, but excuse me. Yes. So not entirely a much different change side, I would argue, but at least given how actually the one that came against Wolverhampton Wanderers, by 3-2. The game that I'm still trying to find out what game they actually lost. Yes, they lost to Leeds by 1-0. That's the only game they lost this season. And you look at the other, they have 2 victories and 1 draw, which is a very, very good side. Then we know that Liverpool are unbeaten. They have won all their opening 4 fixtures of the season, and that's why they remain perfect and top at the summit of the league. But like I said, we're talking about a bit of a different Everton side that for which Liverpool will have some players to worry about. Jack Grealish has had a great start to his Everton career. Iliman Ndiaye, I think Kevin. Oh, I'm forgetting his name. But his name is slipping out of my mind. One of those forward players for that Everton side. Let me see if I can find his name. Keenan Dewsbury Hall. Yes, Keenan Dewsbury Hall is one of those players that you think. Then Kevin O'Neill, is it? The shot seven, Everton is shot seven, you know, is the name I'm trying to look for. Is the name I'm trying to look for. I let me let me try and see if I can. Yes, James McNeil. Yes, McNeil. James McNeil. That's the player that I was trying to look for. One of those, players that can hurt at that Liverpool side. So they will be worried that Everton are capable. Of course, like I said, that sort of belt of the front three that play behind the striker in Jack Grealish, Keenan Dewsbury Hall, Iliman Ndiaye, or whether it's James McNeil, and then Beto will read the lines, or Thornberry, whatever, whoever, David Moyes chooses to start with. Defensively, they will need to be very, very solid because they know they will be up against an astute Liverpool side for whom Alexander Isak was handed his debut in midweek against Atletico de Madrid. Never mind that he never scored, but my expectation is that it will be Alson Ramsey-Becker, Ibrahim Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Milos Kakis, and Jeremy Frimpong to complete the back four. I do expect, Ryan Gravenberch alongside Dominic Szoboszlai, Florian Wirtz, Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo, and then Alexander Isak. A side that is really, really very capable of beating up against that, Everton side. And then you look at Everton, like I said, that back defensive solidity that has James Tarkowski, Michael Keane, and they've been a bit leaky. We saw against Wolverhampton Wanderers, they conceded two, and that's no few goals, And then they conceded against Leeds, so 3 goals conceded. So they are capable of conceding just as much as Liverpool themselves are very, very capable of conceding, because they have conceded so far for 2 against Newcastle and 2 against FC Bournemouth. But they've also kept 2 good clean sheets. So then James Garner and Jack O'Brien or Nyakalenko, whichever they decide to field that back four with Jordan Pickford. Meanwhile, Jordan Pickford is in my fantasy team of the Premier League. So I hope it does keep a clean sheet and get me some points. For those of you that are interested in joining the Football Tribe UG Community Fantasy Football League, just go to the channel, go and I think the community section, you'll see posts under the post section. That is where you will be able to see all that. So, like I said, my gut had to go get material. All right. So, I don't know. Like, Liverpool are so good against Everton, especially when playing at Anfield. They know it's a must win for them. It's a derby. It gives them the bragging rights, not more of what is sustainable. What's the code for FPL? The code, let me see if I can find it quickly. The code for FPL. It should be very, very simple. I mean, it's included in that. It's QH. Let me see if I can put it in the comment section. Yes, that's the code for the fantasy Premier League group. There you can go check it out and join the that league, the Football Tribe UG Fantasy Premier League. So, like I was saying, as of yesterday, my gut feeling was tilting towards a 1-1 draw between these two sides. I believe Everton can sort of grind it out. Early kickoffs are not often very, very easy. No for big teams, no for smaller teams. They're a bit of a difficult games to go about. But also, on the other side, the strength of Liverpool, that attacking solidity, that attacking force, is one that you cannot just wish away. You cannot really wipe them off. And the funny thing about Liverpool is that these days you cannot know when they're going into a high-scoring game or a game that they win without scoring much. For example, their last two victories against Arsenal, against Burnley, they've scored 2 goals, one in each of those fixtures, and they won points. So I joined your league. Thank you so much, LFC, for joining the league. So I'm thinking to myself that maybe, just maybe, Liverpool nick this one by 1-0 victory. Although I'm more tilted towards a 1-0 draw. What are your predictions? LFC, what's your prediction for the Merseyside derby, Liverpool versus Everton? Do let me know what your thoughts are. Anyway, all those fixtures. But guys, quickly, let's move away from Liverpool and Everton. But that's my preview of it. That midfield battle between Idris Kanagay and team Idris Kanagay, then of course versus Ryan Gravenberch and Dominic Szoboszlai. You get the feeling that Liverpool will dominate that midfield, really. But they will have to worry about Jack Grealish. He knows how to string a pass. He knows how to take on players. Jeremy Frimpong will have to be at the top of this game. Milos Kakes, if it is him to start, or Andy Robertson, whichever Arne Slot decides that they should get the nod on the left and right backs respectively. So yeah. Anyways, moving on. Let's move on to the fixture between Manchester United hosting Chelsea. We know that Manchester United come under pressure in this one. It should be a must-win fixture for them because we're talking about a side that has lost 2 games so far already, drawn 1 and 1-1, versus the Chelsea side that has managed 2 draws and won 2 games. Those draws coming up against Brentford and Crystal Palace in a goalless draw, in a 2-2 draw and goalless draw respectively, and then 2 victories against West Ham United, who I think they beat by 5-1, and then the other victory was against was it against Fulham? Yes, against Fulham. That game that they won by 2-0. Yes, against Fulham, who had a goal cancelled. Anyways, so the reason as to why I say it's a must-win for for Manchester United is 1, it's a home game. 2, the manager couldn't get under more pressure, or it will bring him under enormous pressure should they lose this one again, because it comes on the back of their 3-0 loss to Manchester City, their arch rivals. So, in that Manchester derby, surprisingly, we're having so many big games already, and the season has basically just kicked off. We've seen Arsenal, Liverpool. We're going to see Manchester United, Chelsea. We've seen the Manchester derby. We're going to see the Merseyside derby. We have, Arsenal, Man City, and things are coming thick and fast. But anyways, it is what it is. So, if you're Manchester United, this is a game. 1, Manchester United must do everything not to lose. That's for starters. And that's why when I give you my prediction later on, you'll understand why. We're talking about the Manchester United side for whom fans are increasingly growing frustrated with the manager. Many are coming to the realization that maybe, just maybe, Ruben Amorim isn't the right man for the job. I was speaking last night, I was telling you that being the manager for Manchester United comes with natural pressure. It's a gargantuan club. It's a global brand. It's a winning club. That's what they've been, over the years. That's what they're known for, winning. So whoever steps into the realms of being a Manchester United manager, they ought to understand that it's a big club, 1. 2, that it's a winning club and that they must win, that you could easily lose the fans. And luckily for Ruben Amorim, he's not lost all the fans. I think people have backed him for majority of time, going all throughout last season, despite all the losses, all the troubles, they sort of held on to something, because there was this thing they were doing in the Premier League while they're scrapping out results, not managing to win on many occasions. In the Europa League, things were going their way. They were advancing, they were progressing until they reached the final. Then they went on to lose the final. Now, ever since they lost that final to Tottenham Hotspur, the mood has sort of had a slight shift towards the manager. One, but even while it had that slight shift, people were sort of willing to give him a clean slate. there's this idea of one, he's not yet brought in the players he wants. Two, he's inherited a squad, maybe a squad of players that do not fit in his own system. And then the idea that next season, which is this season, that will be much, much better, has all sort of shielded him from a large chunk of criticism. Is it fair? It's okay to give the manager that sort of leeway, to give him sort of a clean slate. However, the start to this season has not painted him in the right picture that the fans had hoped it would be. Now, when the fixture came out, then it was going to be a difficult start. Because when the first game for you is at home against Arsenal, while you're accustomed to beating Arsenal, specifically at Old Trafford, he's not easy opponent. And that's why Man United fans were not angry that they lost to Arsenal. I think they were cognizant of the fact that they were up against a better team in terms of its project growth, Then also, they played well in that game, even though that they lost. They knew that if we continue playing like this, then results will happen. Unfortunately for Manchester United, they've never played like that again. But also, when you have to scrap out the results against a team like Burnley, and you're at home, and then you go and draw 1-1 against Fulham before, of course, losing to Manchester City, they can be excused of the losses, but they cannot be excused of the performances during those losses, bar one, if that makes sense. So, against Arsenal, they lost, but they played well. Against Manchester City, they did not play well, and that's why they lost. Against Burnley, they played well, but they defended poorly. That's why they conceded 2. Against Fulham, it was an average performance. So, when you're a Manchester United fan, you sit there and look at Ruben Amorim, who keeps claiming the system is not the problem. And I want to agree with him. The system may not be the problem, but how those players are deployed and how they are instructed to play, including Bruno Fernandes being played in a more central role of midfield as a number 8, things that are not paying off. You must give the fans something to believe, something to clutch on, to hang on, to say, results are not yet coming our way, but there are signs that sooner rather than later, they will start to come. How do you know that? It's based on the style of play. Are you enjoying the kind of football that you're playing? The way the team progress the ball, the way the team retain the ball. But we know that Manchester United, when you leave them to have majority of possession, oftentimes they get lost of ideas, because the DNA of Manchester United, which you would say is predominantly Sir Alex Ferguson imprint, has Sir Alex Ferguson's imprint on it, is a counter-attacking based football. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's what made him, thrive. Jose Mourinho, he needed to be a bit solid defensively and then catch teams on the break. So, and yet you have a manager who is not sort of building that sort of football, and yet they have players that are well suited to that. Also, their squad depth up front is not the very best, but all that notwithstanding, they've welcomed back Matthias Cunha from injury. He should be available either to start or to be part of the matchday squad. My gut feeling, they've had goalkeeping issues. Altay Baindia had a bad day in office in the Manchester derby. Is it time to bring in Sene Lomans, or he will retain Altay Baindia? That remains to be seen. For me, I think it will be Altay Baindia in goal. It will be Matthias de Ligt, Lenioro, and Luke Shaw in that Manchester United defense. Then it will be Patrick Togu, Diego Dalot. I'm not going for Nusa Mazzarri because I thought Nusa Mazzarri did not have a good game in the Manchester derby. I'll go with Casemiro alongside, particularly for this game, I'll go with Casemiro alongside Kobbie Mainoo. I'd play Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes in a more advanced role as a 10, and then I would play Benjamin Sesko. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he chooses to play, Casemiro alongside Bruno Fernandes and then play Mason Mount alongside Brian Mbeumo in the double 10, and then Benjamin Sesko, which may come back to bite him. On the side of Chelsea, like I said, Chelsea are in decent form, but that, a 3-1 loss to Bayern Munich, which you would expect, given the disparity in terms of team quality between the current Bayern Munich side and Chelsea, it's understandable. And they will be looking to bounce back, and they will go to Old Trafford knowing that teams have gone there and won, that Arsenal went there and grinded out results. So they themselves are capable of going there and winning. They will know that Burnley went to Old Trafford and gave them a scare. They almost walked away with the point had it not been for that late penalty that was scored by Bruno Fernandes. So Robert Sanchez in goal, Tosin Aderabio alongside Trevor Chalobah, Marco Correa and Rachel James is the kind of team that I'll go to matches at Manchester United. Moises Caicedo alongside Enzo Fernandez, with Cole Palmer ahead of them. I'd go with William Esteval, Pedro Neto, and Joao Pedro if I was Enzo Maresca. And then that means the likes of Jamie Gittens are able to come off the bench and give us, reinforcement. Tariq George, Andre Santos, Dario Isugo, Malo Gusto, Joel Hato, all that will be property on the bench that can give Chelsea an extra push should they deem it necessary. While on the other side of Manchester United, Matthias Cunha, of course, Joshua Zirkzee among those that can give them that extra push. My prediction is a 1-1 draw between Manchester United and Chelsea. I think Chelsea will dominate that midfield with Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and Cole Palmer. I think they will give Manchester United a lot of headache, but Manchester United, knowing that it's a home game and knowing that it's almost a must-win for them, they'll try to put in a shift of a performance, as we know they are very capable of doing so, especially when playing against big teams, as we've seen them over the years. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw between that one. Then quickly, the other fixtures that will be coming our way during the course of the week. Oh, before we move on from that Manchester United Chelsea game, last season there was a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. That's why it's not the reason as why I'm going for a 1-1 draw, but I feel that could be the result again. Chelsea won the reverse fixture by 1-0. Then Chelsea struggled to win at Old Trafford. In fact, in the last 3 visits to Old Trafford, they've not won any. They've lost 2 and drawn 1, including a 4-1 loss, and then a 2-1 loss, and then at some way that Chelsea have won the last 2 meetings at Stamford Bridge against Manchester United. So that's the feeling I'm getting, that they will draw this one. Moving on, in the other fixtures, like I said, I'll just be giving you my predictions. Brighton versus Tottenham Hotspur. Bit of a difficult game. Tottenham very, very good, coming back from a UEFA Champions League victory against Villarreal, winning by 0-0, full of confidence. They also won their last fixture against West Ham United by 3-0, a result that we had predicted. I'm going for Brighton to win this one 2-1. Yep, difficult, but going to 1 Brighton. Burnley versus Nottingham Forest. If Nottingham Forest get beat, Ange Postecoglou is going to be under quick pressure. He's already under some level of pressure, but I think it will increase further if he does sort of lose this game. Burnley can be good at home. They managed to beat up against Sunderland by 2-0 at home. They know that Nottingham Forest are beatable. Swansea just beat them. Arsenal beat them last weekend by 3-0. I'm going for Burnley 2-1. Burnley winning 2-1. West Ham United versus Crystal Palace. I don't think I've seen a more poor team than West Ham United this season. Crystal Palace win 2-0. Crystal Palace win 2-0. Wolves versus Leeds United. Not easy. I'm going for Wolves to win 2-1. Told you Man United 1-0. Chelsea Fulham versus Brentford. I'm going for a 2-2 draw. I don't know why, but I feel that first of all, Keith Andrews has done a brilliant job, more brilliant than many of us had predicted that he would get to do at the start of the season. Currently, yes, the 12th with only 4 points from 4 games, but they've managed 2 losses, 1 win and a draw, but it's not one that I've predicted. And yet Fulham on the other side have 1 win, 1 loss, and 2 draws. So I'm going for a 2-2 draw for that one. Then on Super Sunday, Bournemouth versus Newcastle. I'm going for a Bournemouth win. 1-0 Bournemouth. Sunderland versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa have had, I think, one of their worst starts to a Premier League campaign, to the extent that they are 19th on the Premier League globe with only 2 points. The only team that has done worse is Wolverhampton Wanderers, who have lost all their opening 4 fixtures. That's why, notwithstanding, I'm going for them to win their first game of the season, winning by 2-1 against Leeds United. But I mean, Sunderland quite high on the table. 1 loss, 2 wins, and 1 draw. Aston Villa. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. And then, of course, the biggest game of the weekend is between Arsenal and Manchester City. It's a must-win fixture for Arsenal. Not that it decides the season, but for a team that lost 4 games in the entirety of last campaign, the last thing is you want is losing 2 games in the opening 5 fixtures of the season. 2, the reason as why it's a must-win is because they've already lost to a Liverpool side by 0-0. You do not want to send the message that the big boys are suddenly now getting back at you, or they are able to beat you, and which is what they had so in the last 2 years when they had lost to, to any of the big 6, you know. So, before I give my prediction, we know that Manchester City have not beaten up against Arsenal in the last 2 seasons. At the Etihad Stadium last season, but 1, it was a goalless draw. Then last season, it was a 2-2 draw. That's at the Etihad Stadium. The 10-man Arsenal had Leandro Trossard, sent off in the first half. Then in the reverse fixtures at home, last season but 1, Arsenal won that tie by 0-0. Gabriel Martinelli scoring that one. While last season they beat up against Manchester City by 5-1. Abroad, Erling Haaland scored the only consolation for Manchester City, while Martin Odegaard scored in the 2nd minute. Then you had Thomas Partey scoring in the 56th minute. Remember, about Erling Haaland, this goal had come around the 54th or 55th minute. Then you had Miles Lewis Kelly score, you had Leandro Trossard score, and you had Kai Havertz score, and then Ethan Nwaneri in, I think, the 3rd minute of added time after 19 minutes. So Arsenal are seeking to become the first team to remain undefeated in 5 fixtures against Pep Guardiola in the Premier League. You know, like I've said, Arsenal have only lost 1 this season against Liverpool. It's the only goal they've conceded all season. Manchester City, on the other side, have conceded 4 goals already: 2 against Brighton, 2 against Tottenham. They lost both games. Then they've beaten up against Man United and Wolverhampton Wanderers. They just beat up against Napoli in the UEFA Champions League by 2-0. The last time Manchester City beat up against Arsenal, you have to go back to April 23rd. That was for the 2022-2023 season, winning that fixture by 4-1. Brought Erling Haaland scoring, I think, brought Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne among the goal scorers. I think even John Stones. I stand to be corrected, but they did win that fixture. Yes, John Stones scored, Kevin De Bruyne scored a brace in that one, and brought Erling Haaland, while Rob Holding struggled in that game, scored Arsenal's only consolation. Takahiro Tomiyasu also I think, struggled through that fixture. So, but we're talking about much different change sides in that sense. And so Arsenal want to send a message that the big boys are not going to start bullying them again. That's why it's a must-win fixture. But also on paper, I feel that Arsenal are in slightly better shape than Manchester City. Last season, notwithstanding, because the only disparity was 3 points, and that was in fact Manchester City won more Premier League games last season than Arsenal. Manchester City won 21, while Arsenal won 20, had as many as 14 draws, while Manchester City had 9 losses. Arsenal had only 4 losses. So on paper, Arsenal I look to be a much better team at the moment. That's not to say that Pep Guardiola cannot outsmart or cannot outwit his apprentice in Mikel Arteta and beat him at the Emirates Stadium. In any case, they've done it before. So that midfield battle between Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Tijani Reinders versus Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and possibly Mikel Merino, although against my better judgment, I would rather start Ethan Nwaneri or Martin Odegaard if he is fully fit to start. Yesterday, I was speaking at yesterday's pre-match press conference. Mikel Arteta did say that Bukayo Saka, Ben White, and Martin Odegaard had not done any work with the group, and that they were looking towards the last training session, which will come today before them deciding on whether they will be part of the matchday squad and things like that. But we know that Mikel Arteta tends to be a bit evasive or sort of secretive with the returnings of their players in regards to coming back from injuries and things like that. Then you suspect that it will be a tough battle, and whoever wins that midfield battle will win the day. Then you look defensively, Arsenal have been solid, while Christian Mosquera has been quite solid. I will be, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm bringing back William Saliba because of his experience, because of his solidity. We know he knows how to play against Manchester City. They know how to fend off abroad Erling Haaland, who can be quite a bit bullish. He's quite physical, he's fast, and things like that. We saw him against Manchester United when he scored that press, could have scored 4, could have scored the hat-trick, but it just did not happen for him. So then Jeremy Doku and Phil Foden are the two that I expect to play alongside about Erling Haaland. Then the backline of Manchester City, I do expect the likes of Ruben Diaz, Josko Gvardiol, maybe Nathan Ake, Kushanov, maybe Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal. Won't be an easy person to score against. Arsenal will know a thing about that, having faced him in the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League last season when he was in the stands for PSG. So Arsenal will need to be clinical with their chances. Arsenal will need to be quicker on the transition. They will need to release balls much quicker to Victor Gyökeres if they are to help him score against the big boys. So my expectation of a starting 11 for Arsenal is David Raya in goal, Julian Timber, Ricardo Carafiori, William Saliba, and Gabriel Magalhaes. Midfield, like I said, Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and Ethan Nwaneri is the one that I would opt for because I believe Ethan Nwaneri could give you that bit of quickness. That's if Martin Odegaard is not fit enough to start because I believe Mikel Merino tends to slow down the game, the tempo of the game. He's not that fast, he's not quick on the ball. Even when it comes to driving the ball forward, he's not that sort of a good ball carrier. In fact, Declan Rice is much better than him in that sense. Then forward lines, I do expect Noni Madueke to start at the right wing, then Eberechi Eze to start to the left, and then Victor Gyökeres. Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli start off the bench, even though they did combine, coming off the bench to score those 2 goals against Atletico Bilbao, as Arsenal won their opening fixture of the UEFA Champions League by 2-0. So, where Arsenal's set piece play is a threat that never goes away. Yes, they take spells, sometimes they go spells without scoring from set pieces, but Manchester City will have to be alive to that. So as not to concede a Gabriel header. We know that last season at the Etihad Stadium, he was one of the goal scorers. He did score a brilliant header. and Ricardo Carafiori also scored a stunner. So I believe Arsenal will win this one by 2 goals to 1. JFFT Bell. Hi, how are you doing? Do you remember me? Obviously, I do remember you, JF. It's been a while. How have you been? Hi, do you remember me? Of course, I do remember you. Nashat, by the way. Thank you. Of course, I do remember you. It's been a while. How have you been? Where have you been at? I haven't seen you in what? In close on a month? Correct me if I'm wrong. But you had gone AWOL. I hope you're doing okay at JFP. So really, what happened? I hope everything is okay with you. Because you know what happens is that when when a routine person disappears in your life for a while, it's often either of these three things. One, they're either too busy with work, two, busy with books or school, then the other is maybe they're ill or having some personal struggles that they have to go through. Yes, I have had a football cup. I scored 2 goals and did 3 assists. Oh, congratulations to you. That's a good return on investment. 2 goals and 3 assists. What number do you play, or what role do you play in the game? Are you a midfielder? Are you an attacking midfielder? Are you a striker? Are you a winger? Uh, uh, and I've had 4 exams. Exactly. Majority of our usual suspects, the likes of Pressing Kosi, Pedri, LFC always spares the moment to be here, but of course he doesn't stay that long. JFTBL, just for the laugh, Safa Ali from Turkey. Who else? There's another figure I'm forgetting. They've all gone AWOL because of predominantly because of school, which is really understandable. You play central midfield, okay? I hope you did excel in your exams. So majority of our fan base, by the way, especially the usual suspects, the routine people, the ones that we count on every single day, for either it's a morning broadcast, afternoon, evening, majority of those have been taken away by school. After the end of the summer, really, or at the tail end of it, once school resumed, and many have had less time to commit to us. But it's one that is really understood. They call me Tony Cruz at school. Wow, that's a huge compliment. That's a huge compliment for you to get the Tony Cruz. Then there's another one, the Yellow Diet. For the Yellow Diet, it may not be school, but it may be a season to harvest some what are they? Some palms. It's not coconut. The palms, the ones that make palm oil. That's the one. You said Tony Cruz from Egypt. Tony Cruz from maybe you should transform into the Muhammad Abtrika, the new Muhammad Abtrika of Egypt. But yeah, that's a huge compliment, because Tony Cruz, I do not think he was a unique player when it came to controlling that midfield, dictating the tempo of the game, short pass, long pass, would give you a free kick once in a while, would give you a good corner kick, a good set piece play. He is good tackler. He was always almost accurate when it came to timing his tackles. So he was quite the skill set of a bowler. I remember when he was leaving Bayern Munich to join Real Madrid, and I was thinking, what on God's green earth are Bayern Munich thinking, letting go of a player the quality of Tony Cruz? And it showed. He went on to win many titles with Real Madrid. So I hope you equally go on to win many titles in that way. Bro, I'm sorry I have to go, and please, can you do live stream watch along Liverpool Everton, because I can't watch the game today. So sorry, bro. I love your content. Thank you so much, GFTBL. For the watch along, I'll see what I can do. I can't guarantee on it, because usually when I do watch alongs, when there are people watching the game with me, they tend to make a lot of noise, which may then interrupt the podcast. So I don't know. I can't commit to it, but I'll see what I can do. I can stay for 5 minutes because I don't want to make you sad. Thank you so much for the time you managed to dedicate anyway. So while you join us, we are wrapping up on our analysis for the preview of the Manchester City Arsenal game that will come on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's East African time. And my prediction is that Arsenal will win the game by 2-1. I feel that Arsenal are in a better sort of moment compared to Manchester City. Arsenal will go into the fixture knowing that Brighton went and beat up against Manchester City. They know that Tottenham Hotspurs went and put on quite the performance against Man City, and they managed to beat them. They will know that Allegri is not yet back in the best of his form. Maybe today is the time he sort of regains it. You never know. But they will go into the game knowing that Manchester City defensively are not at their very best. They've lost already Ryan Afinori to an injury. Their struggles at right back and things like that. So when you look at if Arsenal can defend really, really well against Phil Foden or Jeremy Doku and Brad Erling Haaland, assuming those are the ones that start because Omar Mamush is out injured, even if it is Savinho to start, bro, you have amazing English. Thank you so much. So if they can do defensively well about those, that's Arsenal's back four of Carafiori, Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Jurrien Timber. If they can defend solidly against Manchester City's attackers, the midfield battle is one that they can win. For me, the big question is going to be who starts in that attacking midfield role. Is it going to be Mikel Merino? Is it going to be Ethan Nwaneri? Is it going to be Martin Odegaard? I do not know if they will risk Martin Odegaard again because they know that as soon as he returned from the international break, he just another fall in that game against Nottingham Forest, and then his sort of shoulder injury sort of came back, and that kind of thing. Which team do you support? Sorry, I'm asking too many questions. It's all right. Jeff TV, you can ask as many questions as you would wish. One, I support football first. For me, football as a sport is what I love first. But I do support Arsenal, I do support Real Madrid. Those are the teams that I pay allegiance to. But because I support football first, that's why I'll go and watch a Liverpool game and appreciate it for what it is. I'll go and cheer an Everton. I'll go and cheer, on a given day, any underdog against a big team. So I just do appreciate the game the way it does come. So it's all right to ask the questions. So yeah, those are the teams that I do support. Okay, very nice. Remind me, what team do you support? I seem to have forgotten, by the way. Then Snow LFC is the other usual suspect that has gone AWOL in as far as our broadcasts are concerned. But yeah, that's the Premier League that will be coming your way. I've given you my predictions. I've given you my analysis. Then quickly in the Spanish La Liga, Liverpool, you never walk alone. How dare I forget? Like I said, my prediction is a 1-1 draw between Everton and Liverpool. However, I won't be surprised if Liverpool win it maybe by 1-0 or 2-0 because they are capable of that, and they've won the last 3 fixtures at Anfield by that sort of margin. Last season it was 1-0, and then you have to rewind back to the other 3 visits for Everton at Anfield, and they lost by 2-0. So yeah, then you say Liverpool for life. And by the way, you've met Frimpong. Why did you meet Jeremy Frimpong? Why did you meet him? I mean, such a brilliant player. In as far as the Spanish La Liga is concerned, at 3 p.m., Girona will be up against Levante. Girona have had a poor start to the season, and I think they're one of the bottom teams, if not at the very bottom. Real Madrid, who remain flawless in the opening 4 games, have a date with Espanyol at the Santiago Bernabeu. That at 5:15 p.m. Then Deportivo Alaves will be up against Sevilla at 7:30 p.m., while Villarreal at the same time will be up against Osasuna. Valencia at 10 p.m. will be up against Athletic Bilbao. I met him at an airport 2 years ago. Wow. while you were still at Bayer Leverkusen. Okay, that's amazing. Did you get a photo moment, a selfie, maybe, or you are too starstruck to even ask for one? Then in the German Bundesliga, Augsburg will be up against Mainz, also at 4:30 p.m. while at the same kickoff time. Hamburg will be up against Heidenheim. Hoffenheim will take on Bayern Munich, a big game to look forward to at 4:30 p.m. Then Werder Bremen will take on Freiburg at the same kickoff time, while in the late kickoff at 7:30 p.m. RB Leipzig will be up against FC Cologne. And then in the Italian Serie A, Bologna will be up against Genoa at 4 p.m., while at 7 p.m., Hellas Verona will take on Juventus, and then later at 9:45, Udinese will welcome AC Milan, Udinese. And then in the French League One, Nantes will be up against Rennes, while Brest will take on Nice. Lens will be up against Lille. Those are the fixtures that will be coming your way in those respective competitions or leagues this weekend or this Saturday, particularly. On Super Sunday, like I said, in the Spanish La Liga, in the late kickoff, Barcelona will be up against Getafe, while in the early kickoff at 3 p.m., Rayo Vallecano will be up against Celta Vigo. Mallorca will take on Atletico de Madrid at at a 5:15, and then at 7:30 p.m., Elche will be up against Real Oviedo. Okay, okay, I have really need to go now. See you at the live stream if you will make one. Again, I can't guarantee on it, but if the time allows me, if power allows me, yesterday we missed our live stream due to our power being off. But if the stars do align for us, then we will do the watch along live stream. But if you do not see it, then take no offense. It may be under some extenuating circumstances, like power maybe being off or something else. But if all goes well, then I'm committed to doing it. Then also, but thank you so much for being part of this broadcast, and thank you so much for your input, your contribution, your comments, your questions are much appreciated. Then the German Bundesliga on Super Sunday. Bye bye to you. Thank you so much, mate. Good luck to Liverpool today. Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt will be up against Union Berlin, while Bayer Leverkusen will take on Borussia Mönchengladbach. Borussia Dortmund will be up against Wolfsburg, while in the Italian Serie A, Lazio will take on AC Roma at 1:30 p.m. Big game. That's the Roma derby. Cremonese at 4 p.m. will take on Parma, while Torino will take on Atlanta at the same kickoff time. Fiorentina will be up against Como. Como, very stubborn side, by the way. Then Inter will take on Sassuolo at 9:45 p.m. Then in the French League One, Paris FC will take on Strasbourg. AC Monaco will be up against Metis. This is all on Super Sunday, while Auxerre will be up against Toulouse. Le Havre will take on Lorient, while Olympique de Marseille will be up against Paris Saint-Germain on Super Sunday. Those are some of the fixtures that you ought to look forward to in as far as this weekend is concerned from the major 5 leagues there. Of course, Jose Mourinho has taken on the reins at Benfica as the new manager following the sacking of Bruno Lage, who was sacked in the aftermath of them squandering a 2-0 lead against Qarabağ in the UEFA Champions League, and they lost that one. And they lost that one. So yeah, big fixtures are coming your way very soon. And I hope Mourinho succeeds really well at Benfica. I mean, he's had his struggles for the last 4 games. He's been sacked. For the last 4 teams, at Manchester United, at Tottenham Hotspur, at Roma, and Fenerbahce, he's been sacked. Anyways, that's just what it is in that regard. Maybe before we sign out, I needed to comment about Pep Guardiola's comments in regards to his apprentice in Mikel Arteta. He was speaking at pretty much press conference the other day, and he said that he will come if Arsenal win the Premier League title, then he will congratulate his friend on on uh, sort of uh, on spending. So if you hear the quote in out of context, where he says, "I want to say to my friend Mikel Arteta, if he wins the Premier League title, well, it will just be because of the spending, not because he worked a lot." So if you just read that sentence and that's what you run away with, you may be quick to judge Pep Guardiola, and it may not be very just. But he goes on to say, like, Liverpool, if Arne Slot wins the title again, it will be because he spent a lot. Uh, he spent a lot of money this year, right? Question mark, because it's not just Manchester City that's happened, right? So all of them do it for many years. Every club can do whatever they want. I know how we have been treated is completely different, but what they want to spend is because they want it. So basically, as it was Pep Guardiola responding to sort of that constant criticism that Manchester City have literally bought their way into titles, while they say that's to say that teams like it's to say that for long that they've criticized him for spending heavily on players, and that's why they've been dominant in years gone by, why they've won the major titles that they've been able to win, and now he's sort of giving a clap back to say Liverpool spent heavily this summer, Arsenal spent heavily this summer, and if they go on to win the major titles, then it will be because they have spent, not because they worked hard. Basically, so do not take him out of context. It is what it is. They reinforced their squads with what they thought they needed, and yeah, it takes hard work to win. I've never been one to think that just because you buy a facet of good players, then suddenly you're guaranteed of winning. We know that PSG did that when they wanted to try and win the UEFA Champions League, and it did not happen for them until last season. And yet last season they did not have the most expensive of squads. Ousmane Dembele cost them about 50 million euros, signing him from Barcelona in 2023. Ivica Kvaratskhelia cost them about 75 million euros. Gonzalo Ramos about 90 million euros or 80. Randall Colomwani, they even sent him out on loan to Juventus, Tottenham Hotspur, but Nuno Mendes, Akraf Hakimi, Gianluigi Donnarumma joined them, I think, as a free agent after leaving AC Milan. William Pacho, João Neves, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, Desiree Doué, Bradley Barcola. It wasn't the most expensive squad that you would say that PSG have had over the years. When you look back to the years of Thiago Silva, of course, Marquinhos being a mainstay in that. When you look back at Angelo Di Maria, Lionel Messi, Sergio Ramos, Neymar, Kylian Mbappe, Blaise Matuidi, those kinds of players. But it is what it is. It's Pep Guardiola with his thoughts. Anyways, allow me wish you a wonderful rest of the weekend. Go and enjoy those fixtures, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much, Jeff, FT Bell. Thank you so much, LFC, and every single one of you that managed to catch today's podcast. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.